Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here on Thursday, May 2nd. Before we get into the play of the day, we'll recap what happened yesterday. And just like the day before, we ended up losing in basketball as we took the Nuggets minus 3.5. And the game kind of went exactly the opposite of the way that I thought it would, not only because of the Nuggets, but I spent a decent amount of time on the play yesterday talking about how the Trailblazers would only win one way, and that would be if Lillard dropped 40, and how I didn't trust the supporting cast to really do much. And the exact opposite happened as McCollum and Lillard both struggled, and the rest of the cast put up roughly 60-something points. And the Nuggets offense, which I thought would do well against Portland, scored 35 points in the first half, which tied a franchise record for least points in a half in, just with the Nuggets history. So, yeah, that game did not go exactly the way I thought. But like yesterday, as I promised, if we would lose that Nuggets game, we would not give out NBA plays of the day because two straight, and we were clicking in baseball and some other sports as well. So we don't really think that basketball is the way to go for these play of the days. But with that loss, our record is now 26-19-2 for plus 5.48 units. However, if you did end up backing the tennis play that we gave out with Fokina in there, or Davidovich, or whatever you want to call him, he ended up smacking Jeremy Chardy as a plus 120 underdog as he won 6-1, 6-2. So to factor both of those in, we were up yesterday, but I said before we would not be factoring in the tennis play into the record, as that was a personal play, but that ended up cashing. So hopefully you ended up backing both plays, and if that was the case, you made roughly 0.2 units on that. But we will be doing the same thing today, where after the play of the day, I will be giving another tennis play, so stick around, which will not go on the record, but I will still keep it, as I will personally be betting that myself. The play of the day, we are actually going to be going back to hockey, and we will be looking at the Sharks as they take on the Colorado Avalanche tomorrow, or tonight, I should say, because it's already 2 a.m., but either or. In this game, the Sharks are the underdog at roughly plus 110. However, I do think that there is value first of all, there is value, and the safer option in this is to take the Sharks in regulation money line. So that way, if they end up tying, you end up getting your money back. But after what happened yesterday and the day before, I'm trying to get back some units for you guys, and I see a line here that doesn't make much sense, in the sense that I think the value is too high, and sometimes you got to try to swing for the fences. So we will be looking at the Sharks winning in regulation at plus 177 on 5 dimes. And the reason why we gave that, I know we gave out that play in game 1, and the Sharks ended up cashing as a plus 120 play. Plus 177 and 5 dimes, I don't really get the line there. I understand the Sharks are an underdog because Colorado's in a must-win situation, quote-unquote, but plus 177 is too high. I think this line should be roughly plus 150, somewhere along those lines. I think this line is just too high, and I will be riding it, as I hope that it will provide a lot of value for the game today. The logic behind it, we'll go over some trends quickly. The Sharks are 5-1 in their last 6 overall. They're 39-18 in their last 57 meetings against Colorado, and they're also 20-7 in their last 27 games after allowing 2 goals or less in the previous game. Meanwhile, the Avalanche are 3-14 in their last 17 conference semifinal games, and they are also 3-8 in their last 11 games as a favorite of minus 110 to minus 150. The reason why we like the game is just the fact that, as I said before, I think the Sharks are just a significantly better team. Props to Colorado for upsetting the Calgary Flames in the first round, but the Sharks are a team that have multiple lines that are dangerous, and I really think Colorado, besides their power play and besides McKinnon and Rantanen in that line, I don't think they bring much to the table from their second line to their fourth line, where the Sharks can beat you in a variety of ways. We saw that in Game 3, Brett Burns was fantastic as he ended up having multiple points. Then in the last game, Logan Couture had a hat trick, Nyquist had a couple of assists, and Burns didn't do anything. So I just think, and plus you also have to factor in mind that Martin Jones is currently outplaying Philip Grubauer in net, and Jones has responded really well since the early parts of that Vegas series. I'm riding momentum also. I think that the Sharks, when they were down 3-1, ended up pulling off a massive comeback. I think that did a lot for the actual team and the morale. And I think that they're kind of playing with house money because they believe they shouldn't be there at this point in time after going down 3-1 to Vegas. But overall, Colorado this season is 1-5 against the Sharks with none of the games going to overtime. I get the fact that Colorado's in a must-win game, and kind of like what we saw with the Sharks, with the Stars, I should say, how after losing Game 3 at home, they ended up rallying to win Game 4 relatively convincingly, and that could happen here, but the Sharks have had the Avalanche's number in 5 of the 6 games of the season, and the Sharks also are coming up a 4-2 win. They have the better goalie, they have the better defensive core, they have the deeper roster. Not to mention the fact that Pavelski could potentially play in this game. It's highly unlikely, but that is something to keep in mind looking forward. But overall, plus 177, I think, is way too high of a line for a team of the Sharks' caliber to be given in terms of price. And I think Colorado should be less of a favorite to win regulation. So we will, in this play, be going with the Sharks in regulation, winning at plus 177 on 5 dimes as the play of the day. If you are concerned about the risk in that and you want a safer play, look into the Sharks in regulation money line instead of the Sharks in regulation -0.5, as the money line return on the first 60 minutes is roughly plus 115 on 5 dimes. But we think that the extra 62 points there for value is definitely worth it. So that will be the play that we are giving out. But like yesterday, we will also be giving out a tennis play. Our tennis play ended up cashing yesterday. We'll actually be looking at a really early game. So apologies if you end up looking at this video after you wake up and the tennis match is already completed. Sorry, but I was studying for an exam, and the game still starts. The match starts in about 6 hours. And it's actually between Pablo Cuevas and Filippo Baldi. And Cuevas is a huge favorite in this match, roughly -145, -455, was originally a -360, now up to -455. Makes complete sense. Baldi shouldn't even be in this tournament. He ended up losing in straight sets to Dominguez in the qualifying, but he was gifted a lucky loser's draw after Fabio Fognini ended up withdrawing from the tournament. So Cuevas has already played a match here. He ended up destroying Salvador Caruso 6-2, 6-2. And Baldi is an awful server. He's a very solid clay player because he likes to rally, but in terms of serving, he's relatively useless. Yep, Derek, thanks for making some comments. If you want to ask any questions, you can. But I'll be going over some tennis really quickly. So Cuevas in this match is significantly better. He's been a very solid clay court player for years. He's already played a match in the regular tournament here. He ended up beating Caruso. He got revenge after losing to him in qualifying, beat him 6-2, 6-2. And Baldi is not a great server. He tends to just put the ball in play. Cuevas can actually create some opportunities for easy points on his serve with the aces. And Baldi, I just think that he's definitely outclassed here. He got smacked by Dominguez, and I know Dominguez ended up beating de Minaur in the first round of this tournament in 3 sets. But I just think that Cuevas is too good of a server. And de Minaur also is coming into his first clay court match of the season, so he wasn't exactly in great form. Cuevas in the first round match won 80% of his first service points, and he also had 4 aces. Salvador Caruso ended up having 0 aces, 0 double faults. He won half of his first service points. I think it's going to be very similar in this match stylistically because Baldi is very similar to Caruso in the sense that they both just like to rally and they possess no real weapon as from their serve. They just try to serve it to get it in. And I think Cuevas will be able to break Baldi a couple of times. And that's a reason why Cuevas to win in straight sets is currently a -165. Of course, that won't be the play that we're offering, but that just is a true testament to how much Cuevas is projected to demolish this guy. And for that reason, you could take the -4.5, which is available at roughly -115 in most spots. But for us, we will be taking the under 21 in this match, which is available at -110, pretty much market wide, including 5 dimes, U-Wager, Bovada, everybody. We like the under 21 in the Pablo Cuevas match versus Filippo Baldi. I think Cuevas is going to smack him. It wouldn't surprise me to see this match end up somewhere in the realm of 6-2, 6-3, something like that. Cuevas is a significantly better player. He can actually generate on his serve. I think he's going to hold. I think that the issue there with Baldi is I think he'll get broken at least once in every single set. And because of his inability to win points easily and his willingness to rally every point, and Cuevas can put the points away easily. So I will be leaning to Cuevas And I will be leaning to Cuevas with the under 21 as the tennis play that we will be giving out as personal play. And yeah, Sam's mentioning the -1.5 sets for Berrettini. And I'm actually a huge Berrettini guy, very young Italian dude, against Cutula. It is worth mentioning that Cutula is actually 3-1 heads up against Berrettini. And Berrettini is, you have to wonder how much fatigue's going to come into this. It shouldn't, because he had an off day yesterday on May 1st, but he did come off of 4 straight matches in which he won the championship at the Budapest, as he ended up beating Krajinovic in the final. Then he beat Istomin yesterday. Cutula had a very easy match against Kyle Edmund, an impressive win there. But overall, Berrettini -1.5 makes sense, but Cutula's had some straight success against him for some reason. But overall, I think there is value there, but Cutula's heads-up record against Berrettini, and he actually beat Berrettini in Dubai in 3 sets at back in February. I know that was hard court, and this is in clay, which is Berrettini's backyard. But I would be a little bit skeptical with Berrettini, but I think there is value on that, so that makes sense. But thank you, Peter. I appreciate that. The tennis play that, if you were just joining us, will be on the Pablo Cuevas match under 21 against Baldy. But yeah, the Denver game didn't really work out. Just Denver couldn't hit any shots whatsoever in the entire first half. 35 points is what it is. We'll try to bounce back. But the play of the day, as I said before, will be on the San Jose Sharks in regulation -0.5, which is available at +177 on 5 dimes. Now, in terms of the rest of the leans, we're already at roughly the 12-minute mark, so I will be very brief with these leans, but I will still provide them as I always do. So just bear with me a second as I end up pulling those up. There's only one basketball game on tomorrow, and it is between the Toronto Raptors and the Philadelphia 76ers. The total is at 216, bet up to 217. I'd have to lean to the under there. And in terms of spreads, Toronto's currently favored by -1.5. I lean to Philly there. I know that Philly ended up winning Game 2. They almost choked it away late. But in terms of Game 3, I expect Philly's crowd to be rocking. I do think Toronto's going to win the series, but I think that the game they're going to win is Game 4. And I think that Philly has a lot of value on the money line or the +1.5 in that game. So I will lean to Philly and the under. And in terms of hockey, we already gave out the Sharks play there. I would lean to the over in that game as well with the Sharks. And for Boston and Columbus, I actually lean to Boston with the money line in that game. Bobrovsky's been great in net, but that series has been really even. And you had 2 overtime games in the first 2 games, and then Columbus ended up winning a 2-1 nail-biter in Game 3. These teams look dead even, and I think the series is going 7. So similarly to what we saw with the Stars and Blues, I thought that series was going 7. I think Columbus-Boston will be going 7. So I will be leaning towards the Bruins, and I will be leaning to the under 5 in that game, specifically the under 1.5 goals in the first period. But as I said before, the play of the day is on the Sharks -0.5 in regulation, which is available at +177 on 5 dimes. And the tennis play is on the under 21, which is available at -110 on the Pablo Cuevas and the Filippo Baldi match, which should be taking place at 8 o'clock this morning. But that's going to do it for this installment of Scott Selections here on Thursday, May 2nd. And good luck to all of you and your respective bets.